Checks and balances are a solution to the divided powers of the United States government. It ensures that no branch of government has too much power by having each branch of the government check each other. The three branches are the legislative branch, that includes Congress, the executive branch, that includes the president, and the judicial branch, that includes the Supreme Court.
The way that the legislative branch checks the executive branch is that Congress can override a veto with 2/3 vote. And the way that the legislative branch checks the judicial branch is that the Senate can confirm justices.
The way that the executive branch checks the legislative branch is that the president can veto an act of Congress. An example of this is from Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution. It grants the president the authority to veto the legislation passed by Congress. There are two types of vetoes, the regular veto and the pocket veto. The regular veto is a qualified negative veto. The president returns the unsigned legislative bill to the originating House of Congress within a 10-day period. Congress can override the president's decision if they get 2/3 of the vote of each House. A way the executive branch checks the judicial branch is that the president can appoint justices to the Supreme Court. Nominating and confirming a Supreme Court justice are among the most important responsibilities presidents and the Senate have. However, not all presidents have the opportunity to name someone to the court.
One way the judicial branch checks the executive branch is that the Supreme Court can rule an executive order to be unconstitutional. One example of when the Supreme Court ruled an executive order to be unconstitutional was when there was a rebuke to President Barack Obama. The Supreme Court struck down 3 of his recess appointments to the National Labor Relations Board as unconstitutional. A way that the judicial branch checks the legislative branch is that the Supreme Court can rule legislative item, bill, or laws to be unconstitutional. One example of when the Supreme Court ruled a legislative item to be unconstitutional was during President Clinton's time. A federal judge ruled that it was unconstitutional for the president to veto individual items in a spending and tax legislative, rather than signing or rejecting the entire bill.